and then we'll have some questions for you after the Pledge of Allegiance. So I think we're waiting for them to get over there, and then.
Color guard attention. Color guard forward march. Will the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard post colors. The audience may be seated.
So cute. All right. Way to go, Troop 30. And line up here at the podium. And if you'll each tell us your name and what grade and what your favorite thing is about Scouts.
Favorite thing about Scouts, name and grade. Name, grade, and favorite thing about Scouts.
I'm Graham. I'm in 5th grade. And my favorite thing about Scouts is that we get to make friends.
I'm Snow, and my favorite thing about Scouts is probably the Pinewood Derby race. You get to build a car and race it. I'm in 5th grade.
My name is Gideon. I'm in 5th grade, and I like that you can learn new things that you probably haven't learned before when you join Scouts.
My name is Mason Brock, and I am age 10. My favorite thing about scouting is probably learning what to do if you ever get separated from your family in the woods.
And what grade are you in, Graham?
5th.
Okay.
My name is Robbie, and I'm in 5th grade. And my favorite thing about Scouts is mostly the hikes.
My name is Jasper. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite thing about scouting is the snacks.
That's my favorite thing about council.
My name is Reese, and my favorite thing about scouting is definitely building a Pinewood Derby car. I am in 5th grade.
My name is Michael Carrot. My name is Michael Karras. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite thing about Scouts is all the fun activities you get to do.
My name is Jesse. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite thing about Scouts is camping.
My name is Caleb. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite thing about Scouts is probably camping. My name is Frankie. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite thing about Scouts is learning how to use a knife.
Hey. All right, you be careful with that knife. All right, well, thank you, Troop 3038, for coming. We really appreciate it. You guys did a perfect job on the flag, so thank you. And yay! Okay, I want to welcome each of you to our Salt Lake City Council meeting this evening. We appreciate that you have taken time out of your day to attend and participate and see your local government at work. To start the meeting, we have some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure that people feel comfortable and safe participating in our meeting tonight. We ask that you please be respectful during other people's comments. Avoid cheering, jeering, snapping fingers, or any disruptive noise because it could cause others to feel intimidated. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on furniture or leaning against the decorative pieces. This room is the only room in the city and county building that is still used for its original purpose, which is lawmaking. If you have a sign, a prop, or other piece of equipment, like video equipment, please make sure that it does not disrupt or block other people's views. Signs wider than your chair will need to be displayed out in the hallway. Also, items like sticks or dowels are not allowed. Please do not approach the dais. If you have something to pass out to the council members, a staff member can come assist you. Our staff is here to help you. If you have any assistance, or if you need any assistance or have any questions, please raise your hand and a staff person will come and help you. Also, we recognize that 2 minutes of public comment may not be long enough to get all of your comments outlined. Please visit our website, slccouncil.com, or refer to the contact information sheets by the speaker cards for information about other ways to share your comments with the council via email, phone, or mail. Okay, we are at item A4 on the agenda, which is approval of minutes. And we're approving the minutes of our meeting of Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Johnston and a second by Councilmember Fowler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, that passes unanimously. We are now at item A5. Recognition of David Sorensen, who won an award for his work on a personal project to improve pedestrian safety near LeGrand and 900 South. David is a 14-year-old resident who lives in District 6. He's a freshman at the Academy for Math, Engineering, and Science, a public charter school. The school focuses on STEM-based advancement curriculums. David took on the project as part of his citizenship in the community Scout to earn a Community Scout Merit Badge. He wanted this project to focus on something that was really important to him, his friends, and his neighbors. His goal has been a goal of the community for decades. He would like to see a 900 South, see 9th South at the intersection of LeGrand and Military safer for everyone. David said he was almost hit 3 times by speeding cars at these intersections. He met with Salt Lake City Transportation Division, John Larson and Scott Vaderlaus, to identify ways that he could help with speeding in the area. Based on what he learned from the meeting with John and Scott while working on his merit badge, David decided to take things a step further and create awareness for drivers about their responsibility to drive 25 miles per hour in the neighborhood for his Eagle Scout project. After undergoing a process of determining the best way to do this, David decided to focus his efforts on the blocks between Greenwood Terrace and 900 East on 9th South. He had signs printed with the help of a friend and neighbor, John Lee, who took David's phrase, "Drive 25 in the Hive," and created a logo for him. David distributed close to 140 flyers asking drivers on 9th South to slow down. The signs were posted on lawns where they were visible to drivers. The response has been very positive and supportive. The purpose of his Eagle Scout project is to address the 2 main safety risks of speeding and visibility in the area. It's exciting when youth get involved and decide to make a difference in our community. So we want to thank you, David, for making a difference and for your leadership. I want to invite you to come forward to the podium and share a few words if you would.
So speeding is a major problem on 9th South, and so speeding is a major problem on our street, 9th South, and because I've almost been hit at the intersection 3 times for my Eagle Scout project, we made the signs that are over there and asked around on the street who would want one, and posted them in their lawns so that they could raise awareness for this. We also made these cards that say that speeding is a major problem and efforts are being made with the city to slow speeds down on our street. Ultimately, it is up to those driving on our street to drive 25 miles per hour. Please put this card in your car to remind you to drive 25 in the Hive, which is the slogan that I came up with for my Eagle Scout project.
Wow, well, thank you very much. We really appreciate that you take the leadership and the time to think about something that matters not just to you, but to your family and to your neighbors, and then that you put the time and dedication to executing that and doing something that really did make a difference. So we want to thank you very much, and I have a little gift for you. And we'd love to come down and get a picture with you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, you want to come stand right up here? Now, if anyone else out there wants a cool notebook and a pen, all you have to do is think up a project and make a difference in your community and then tell us about it. And we can get one for you too. Plenty more where that came from. Okay, so we will now go to the public hearing portion of our meeting. We have a few opportunities for public comment tonight, and I will call names on the comment cards as they've been turned in. I'll call people two at a time. So the first person, please come forward to the microphone. Second person, you're on deck as next in line. The comment time is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. As a reminder, please help create a civil and respectful meeting. Please be respectful of other people's comments, no loud noises or disruptions. Please do not block other people's views. Please allow staff to pass out handouts if you have them. And please be respectful of the time limit. Thank you. Oh, boy. Oh, okay. So these comments are on item B1, the ordinance for the Foothills Trails Master Plan. The first name that I have is Chad Whitaker. The second is Eric Edelman. So, Chad?
Thanks for your time. As a 35-year veteran of the mountains here and using them in trail running, mountain biking, and all sorts of different scenarios, I oppose the ordinance because in my 35 years of use, I've seen nothing but terrible management by the city. You've not done a good job. Trails are continually cut by, unauthorized trails are continually cut. I mean, I don't even know if you can use the word unauthorized because there has been literally no management. And so I don't understand how this taxpayers can be burdened or even trust the city to manage 40-plus additional miles of trail. In addition, the plan has 48-inch wide trails cut across our most iconic faces in the Wasatch, or at least in the city here, in the foothills across Van Cott and Mount Wire. And I think those will be disruptive visually, and I also don't think the city is going to be able to manage people cutting across switchbacks, et cetera, which is already happening in the lower regions of the trail. Those are my two biggest problems. The width of the trail, where the trails are going, the way they're planned to zigzag across our most iconic faces, and also I don't understand how we can trust the city to manage these when they have little to no experience doing so. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edelman. And after him is Elliot Mott.
So I'm Eric Edelman. I'm a 10-year resident of Salt Lake City. In particular, I just wanted to talk about Mount Wire and Mount Van Cott, two, similar to what was previously stated, two iconic peaks that show the Wasatch. The trail system that's been proposed, I believe, is flawed, simply in that it calls for numerous switchbacks to be placed in the front of the mountain, increasing the distance required of trail The width of those trails being 40 inches in width is substantial. All of us have seen the cuts that have been made to put pipelines in place along the Wasatch Front. These would be put in place across the front of Mount Van Cott and Mount Wire. In particular, it's important that we become aware that both of these call for trails to the top of those peaks for mountain bikes. Now, I myself am a mountain biker. I love it. However, a lot of people in mountain biking tend to have agency with where they go once they're at an elevation. This will introduce trails that are not intended. People will come down those mountain faces. They will cut their own trails. It's important that we become aware of what may possibly happen. I don't believe that this system has been thought out thoroughly, and it's important that we protect Mount Wire and Mount Van Cott in particular when looking at how the trail system is outlined. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Elliot Mott, and after Elliot, we have Katie Davis.
Hello, everyone. This is a good night to be outside on a trail. My name is Elliot. I'm here to support the plan before you tonight. There are several reasons for that. First of all, I'm a longtime volunteer organizer of open call outdoor groups for nonprofit groups and outdoor clubs. I've organized over 900 of these through the years, mostly to include many on the foothill trails. In addition, I've led hundreds of bike rides on city streets and dozens of kayak tours on the Jordan River Water Trail. From this perspective, I see the user concerns. Applicable to this plan, there are three recurring conflicts I see. One is off-leash dogs traumatizing trail users. Two, errant bicyclists blasting down trails indifferent to other trail users. And three, homeowner conflicts at trailheads. The master plan provides a foundation to address these many issues. It will provide for signage defining user conduct and etiquette, provide for a ranger program, separate conflicting user groups where appropriate, close down maverick trails, and fast-track trailhead development where appropriate. Second, as an urban planning graduate, I recognize master plans as guiding documents. We don't have one now. This is the first one. Can address the aforementioned conflicts, maintain and improve existing trails, construct new trails, and address infestation of invasive nuisance weeds, among other things. Furthermore, master plans trigger the funding cycle, which is critical for the Parks Department to move forward. Finally, as chair of the Peanut Advisory Board, from this perspective, I can report that the dialogue I witness is that the general public highly values its trails and wants more. The general public highly values its open space and wants it preserved wherever possible.
Time.
Thank you, Mr. Mott. All right, Katie Davis, and after her, we have Jeff Rocco.
Hello, good evening, members of the council. Thank you for providing the opportunity to comment on this. I am here representing District 6. I'm the representative on the Peanut Board for District 6, and want to speak from that experience. I also have a background in environmental policy and have been involved in a number of recreational trail planning efforts across both federal and local lands. So I have some experience in this type of planning. I want to speak in support of the plan. I think that the agency staff that have worked on this have been outstanding in their ability to navigate the planning process, specifically in the way in which they went about collecting public comment and seeking public input into this plan. It's been the best public input process that I've ever experienced as part of a plan like this. I also want to note that they have specifically acknowledged that this is the first step, right? A plan is the first step in a long-term management of this trail system. I think the plan is an important first step, but I know that the Parks agency and staff understand that this is a long-term investment that will require long-term funding and long-term support from the staff and from the council and from the mayor. And I think that they acknowledge that, and I think it would be great to see this plan move forward to start this process. I also just want to speak to the fact that these plans are very difficult because you have a number of stakeholders. You have public that is diverse with diverse needs. You have a number of conflicting user groups, and I think that the staff has done an excellent job in weighing and balancing all of the various factors and all of the comments and the concerns and coming up with a plan that really reflects the needs of the community at large and the best possible public option for us to pursue. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Jeff Rocco, and after him, Brian Messick.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Jeff Rocco, and I live North Cove Estates, the top of East Capitol Boulevard. Referring to an email from our HOA president, Igor Best-Devereaux, sent to Salt Lake City Gov Council comments, as well as to Mr. Wharton. Our first concern is the way the map depicts the existing trail of the Bonneville shoreline as it goes from east to west. We believe that there's an error showing that the Bonneville shoreline exists in a southern spur that feeds directly into private property, and that there are no plats that we've been able to review that show that there's an easement of any kind. We believe this could be misleading for trail users, and they may be tempted to take the trail to nowhere, ending up on private property coming from a public trail where they would be turned away and not allowed to have access to exit the community through the lower gate. This is potentially something you might consider, removing that spur from the map, because to the best of our knowledge it is not actually part of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Our second concern, also addressed in this email, revolves around the section of new trail proposed from the bottom of City Creek Canyon up to the existing shoreline trail to the west side of City Creek to replace the very steep and dangerous switchbacks. In general, I am personally in favor of that. However, the community is concerned, having met previously with Fire Chief, after the fire that we experienced a little over a year ago, about the difficulties that may be inherent in trying to defend against a fire coming up City Creek, up the western side of the City Creek Canyon. And does the trail, as proposed, present an increased risk in fire danger, or perhaps does it even present an opportunity to be able to better control a catastrophic fire event should it occur? Also, it appears that the map, the way it's depicted, shows open space on that western slope of City Creek, when in fact it is filled with nothing but scrub oak and an incredible amount of fuel that would be a very dangerous concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rocco. I did see your email, and I will respond. Brian Messick, and following him is Todd Zanger.
Hello, my name is Brian Messick. I am a university employee specific to the adaptive sports and recreation of the University of Utah. I would like to speak concerning this plan as it relates to adaptive use. There is actually a need for wider trail, so that is an important thing. Unfortunately, though, typically, and this plan has also failed to kind of recognize some of those needs. Specifically, there probably just isn't enough, to be honest. But with that said, those trails that are currently projected to be built fall typically in ADA perspective, which actually I emailed you guys some pictures out that doesn't actually qualify for the width of most mountain bikes that are used by adaptive riders. There's also just some concerns that I have with the overall use of the project as it relates to projections of users for adaptive use. I don't think we have a clear idea of how many adaptive users will use the trail, because currently there's just not enough use of trail as it is right now. Programs like ours are able to get riders out, but typically that's only on the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, and even some of those parts of that trail just don't fit some of the bikes that we have. With that said, I am excited about the plan if we can move forward with maybe an advisor or some sort of greater advisory look for adaptive use. There is a lot more to be said on that, but as it pertains to my time, I just really ask you guys to consider adaptive use and potentially having a greater look at that, not necessarily from a master plan point of view, but from someone with experience like myself or other adaptive riders or wheelchair users. It's not just mountain biking. There's a lot multi-use that goes into adaptive. It could be great for younger people, it can be great for older people, but adaptive really is something I'd like you to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Messick. Mr. Zanger, and following him is Kevin Dwyer.
Hi, Todd Zanger. I am a resident of the Federal Point development. which sits adjacent to Popperton Park. And I'm not here to speak necessarily for or against the broader trail system, but rather specifically as part of Phase 1 is a major expansion of that Popperton Park trailhead, and in particular, the development of a mountain bike park on the crest of one of those hills. I think there is, one of the primary concerns is that the residents that I've spoken to in that development were completely unaware of this plan until 10 days ago, and while there may have been efforts to sort of reach the community, those weren't direct efforts, and to my knowledge, people in that development were completely unaware of this development. That would be fine if there weren't a few issues that we're particularly concerned about. That mountain bike park that is being proposed is on a very prominent visible hill. If you look at almost any picture of the university, that hill is displayed, and we're very concerned about the kind of thing that's happened to that mountain bike park up on 18th Avenue happening on the top of that, on that hillside. We're very concerned about environmental issues as it relates to that expansion of Popperton Park. The proposal is for 2 miles of trail on a very small piece of real estate that would very quickly make that look like a piece of dirt spaghetti. It's very steep on all sides of that hill, and we don't really think it's in a position to accommodate that. We think a well-planned trail system through the park would be wonderful, and it's not that we stand necessarily in opposition to that, but it ought to be environmentally looked at and approached correctly. We're also a little bit concerned about safety issues. That trailhead already has a huge amount of parking issues, and addressing that is important.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zanger, appreciate that. Mr. Dwyer, followed by that is George Chapman.
Council members, Mayor, my name is Kevin Dwyer. I'm with the Salt Lake Valley Trails Society. We are Salt Lake County's mountain bike trails group. Appreciate the opportunity to address you all on this very important thing, the Foothill Trails Master Plan. It's been a long time coming. You may know that in 2012 and in 2017, county residents in surveys polled stated that trails were their #1 recreation amenity that they desired. And we're excited to see that Salt Lake City has done such a comprehensive job in terms of vetting this Foothill Trails Master Plan to the community and to you all. And so we would really urge your support for the Foothill Trails Master Plan. We feel like it goes a long ways towards enhancing the trail experience for all users, and also eliminate some user conflicts by developing trail systems that are unique to different types of user groups and appropriate for the trail surfaces and slopes. In particular, I would note that the Trails Master Plan shuts down a number of social trails that we found have been unsustainable. So going forward, we're excited to partner with you all to continue to maintain the trails here in Salt Lake County and up in Salt Lake City in the foothills, and develop a stewardship plan that really grows the experience for all the trail users and for the community and your partners in the nonprofit and trail user groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. George Chapman, and following Mr. Chapman is Samantha Finch.
I agree with everything the previous speaker said. In addition, you should be speeding up the Foothill Trails program. This is important for recreation in Salt Lake City and making Utah a recreation destination for the country and the world. Please speed it up. The next item you have on your agenda has $20 million for in-street transportation projects. That $20 million should be used for Foothill Trails expansion now. You also kicked the can down the road on restrooms and dogs, and I don't think you should do that. You should address it right now, and you should also have more park rangers. Again, the foothills, I've ridden up there on bikes. It's beautiful. It's an amazing experience. Everybody should be pushing that, and that should be a high priority, higher than anything else I can think this city should be involved in right now. So please push the Foothill Trails program and look for a lot more funding from the county transportation funding. They have the money, and you should be pushing it right now. In the next year, before the next Olympics, we should have a world-famous Foothill Trails program. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Samantha Finch, and following that is Andy McCarrow.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Samantha Finch. I'm a resident of Salt Lake City and a current member of the Parks, Natural Lands, Urban Forestry, and Trails Advisory Board of Salt Lake. I'm here tonight in my two roles, one as a member of the Citizen Advisory Board and the other as an outdoor recreationalist. From both of these perspectives, I urge you to adopt the Foothill Trails Master Plan offered by the Salt Lake City Lands Department. My enthusiasm for the plan stems from my regular usage of the Foothills natural area for the sport of mountain biking. Over the past 10 years, I have routinely ridden the current Foothills aerial trails throughout the warmer seasons. As a mountain biker, I value being able to bike so close to home. The proximity of the Foothill area helps me avoid some costly and time-consuming trips to other places like Park City. For Salt Lake, I see the benefits of a well-designed recreational plan that will enhance the public's experience, providing outdoor recreational opportunities in the city so more folks like me and visitors will choose to stay within city limits. Furthermore, I'm particularly thrilled with the development of more beginner and intermediate biking trails with loops. It is a design that will clearly enhance my experience as a biker while minimizing conflicts with hikers, runners, and other bikers. I believe this plan will provide a sense of design and order, promoting a safe recreational environment for all users. As an advocate for outdoor space, I particularly appreciate the goal of increasing public access, but directing growth away from environmentally sensitive areas to protect the beauty of the foothills areas years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finch. Just remind everybody, I understand the clapping, but for purposes of our decorum and civility, please try to hold back. If you're excited, you can always come speak. Okay, thank you, Mr. McCarrow. And following Andy McCarrow is Dave Iltis.
Thank you, Council. My name is Andy McCarrow. I'm a resident in the Marmalade District. I use the Foothill Trails by bike mostly, and sometimes by foot, and occasionally by skis. I moved here 9 years ago. The Foothills Trail systems were an essential part of that decision. I don't know if we would have come here if it wasn't for the trails. And I've used them most days of the week ever since. We bought a house close to the Victory Boulevard trailhead. That was a really important decision there. Love it. So glad they built a trail so close. More trails are, well, I'm speaking out in favor of this plan. I love this plan. I got to take part in the planning process. That was really a joy and incredibly easy, and I felt like I had ample opportunity to make my opinion known. I made a few minor comments, but honestly, the plan was pretty much awesome from the start. More trails are better for all users. The extra use of directional trails is fantastic. I found that the plan was already planning to use directional trails that I myself had already chosen my direction. Like, I'm not going to ride down Dry Creek because you'll hit people, and so that's how it's going to be. It's a great plan. Yeah, that's about it. I'm in favor. I fully support it. I'd like to, oh, and also the new trails that have been built are of the highest quality. I'm talking about the ones from the Victory Boulevard trailhead, the Switchback Trail, the Hell Canyon Trail, and the new Ensign Peak Trail. They're going to last. They're not going to be hard to maintain. They're really great for all users. So more of that is going to be fantastic, and that's what the plan's going to give us. I fully support it, and I'd like to thank everybody for all their hard work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarrow. Dave Iltis, and following Dave is Rick Steiner.
Hi, my name's Dave Iltis. I'm with Cycling Utah. I'm here to speak in favor of the plan. I think it's a long-needed plan. Salt Lake has had essentially no plan for the foothills, and that, I think, is what has led to a lot of the rogue trails that previous speakers have not endorsed, and I agree with that. We don't need any rogue trails. As a long-term hiker and biker in the foothills, there's constant conflict between bicyclists and hikers because of the speed differentials and that, and so creating a system that reduces conflict is well needed. People need nature. We don't have enough of that in Salt Lake, and in the valley, open space is being eaten up right and left. The inland port is a disaster for that. And this brings Salt Lake City residents closer to nature, which means that they will value nature that much more. And that, if anything, is reason enough to pass it. Please do add in funds for maintenance and especially weed control. Very little is being done to control Dyer's Woad and other noxious weeds in the foothills, and as well as building the trails. And also please make sure to, I don't know if this is in the plan or not, I suspect it's not, but light pollution on the trails is a real problem where you have things like oil pipelines or natural gas pipelines up in Research Park where there's horrible lights that pollute the night sky, and that needs to be nipped in the bud. And then the last thing in terms of the plan, there aren't really enough trailheads in this plan. The plan needs more trailheads in areas like top of Terrace Hills Drive, up by the JCC and other places.
Time.
Lastly, there's a couple places that need to be closed to avoid car traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iltis. Rick Steiner, and following Rick is John Noblocht. Sorry about that. But John Noblocht, you're up next.
Hello. I've spoken to you before in favor of this trail system. I support all of the comments that have been previously made in favor of the trail system, and I'm pleased that it seems to be moving forward. I did pick up on the first speaker's comment about regulation, and I think that's an important consideration that has not been talked about elsewhere. I'm presently pretty upset with the fact that nobody seems to take account of the dog regulations, and I feel like either we have a regulated system or we do away with the ordinance, because if you don't enforce an ordinance, it's not going to happen. There also needs to be some future planning, because we have e-bikes, we have e-scooters. Are we going to let e-scooters on the trail system, et cetera, et cetera? So there does need to be some planning. That said, I would encourage you to move ahead and build 5 miles of trail, get a citizens committee that starts to look at what the conflicts are on the trail and work from there. I'm a big proponent of doing rather than continually studying, because as you build, you can see what's right, what's wrong, and then the next phase continues. I may have said this once before in my previous comments to you, but the best way to think that you're helping out and delay is to study some more. You know, when my wife has a project at home and I don't completely agree with it, I tell her, well, why don't you research that a little bit? Why don't you go and read some books on it? And then it dies. But I didn't say, no, we can't do it. So I encourage you to put shovels to the ground, build the first phase, and then adapt from there. Thank you.
If Ms. Steiner is listening, I think you just got a big tell.
Busted.
John Noblock, and then after him is Matt Peterson.
I'm John Knobloch. I'm with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Committee, and I'd like to speak in favor of the trails, Foothills Trails Plan. As Kevin mentioned earlier, 2 Salt Lake County recreation surveys showed that trails were #1 for recreation amenities for people in the county. Right now, the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and the Ensign Peak Trails are the only design trails. The rest of the trails in the foothills that we have are user-created trails that are not sustainable, not in the right places, are getting rutted and eroded because of the fact that they're just user-created trails and not designed or constructed professionally. So the answer is to have design trails that are built by professionals that won't require a lot of maintenance and that are designed to shed water appropriately, so we won't have erosion. And also, an element of the plan is segregated trails in some places, such as Dry Creek, where you have user conflicts of bikes versus hikers, and so we want to make sure that the trail system is safe. So that's very important, and a great plan. It's not fair for the people in Salt Lake City to be traveling down to Draper and up to Park City all the time with respect to traffic and congestion, pollution, but to those cities that have invested in trail systems and us not to pick it up and have Salt Lake City provide for their own residents is, I think, not fair to the other folks. So overall, I think Louis Kogan and the Parks, the Trails and Open Space Group have done a great job with public outreach. They've gotten tons of public input on this. The plan is solid.
Time.
And with respect to maintenance, High School Mountain Bike League and University of Utah Parks Program can help out a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Peterson, and following Matt is Julie Roberts.
Hi, I'm Matt Peterson. I'm a 20-year resident of, or user of the Foothill Trail System as a dog walker, jogger, mountain biker, flower picker. And I live in the Avenues probably precisely because the trails are so close to us. I couldn't be more in favor of this plan. I think it was, it's come about by an admirable and masterful process. The options for input have been numerous, and I've tried to avail myself of them. I just feel like it's so long overdue, a trail system for the people of Salt Lake. It's such a valuable resource. It's exactly what Salt Lake should be all about. It's healthy, it's active, it doesn't contribute to air pollution. I'm guilty myself of driving numerous times a week to Draper or to Park City because that's where the trails are. I've been involved in youth mountain bike volunteer work, and it's a shame because it's really hard to get young kids onto the Salt Lake City trails. They're just too steep, they're not well managed. The city deserves a world-class trail system. The Foothills is an invaluable resource. We just need to manage it, and we need to start managing it as soon as possible. So please work in favor and as soon as possible to get this done.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Julie Roberts, and following Julie is Sarah Bennett.
Hi, I'm Julie Roberts. I'm a 30-year resident of the Avenues, and I have been hiking in the foothills with my dogs for those 30 years. Different dogs, but I am very much in favor of this plan. I think it's amazing, long overdue. However, I think that the user groups need to be addressed right at the beginning. I bike, I hike, but every day I hike my dogs in the foothills. It's important for them. It's important for hundreds of dog owners to have that access. I'm a physician. I don't have time to drive to Mill Creek Canyon or to Park City after work to exercise my extended family. 18th Avenue, the Hilltop Drive access point on Morris Mountain. There is a large plateau there that is very popular with dog people. Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people hike their animals up there. It's not a steep area. It's a plateau up to City Creek Canyon. Animals are well behaved. Pet owners are very conscientious. And I would like you all to consider incorporating that area as an off-leash area in the first iteration of the master plan. It's very important to all of us. I've talked to many, many people that agree. Hopefully you guys are hearing from them as well. I'm trying to get that going. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Sarah Bennett, followed by Clint Campbell.
Hello. Thank you, Council, for hearing us all tonight. Warms my heart to hear all the great input. I'm Executive Director of Trails Utah, and getting a master plan rolling for the Salt Lake City foothills was one of the first advocacy projects that I took on in 2015. Have been really thrilled to work with Lewis Kogan, Tyler Fonero, and the folks over at Salt Lake City Parks and Public Lands. After about 10 months of stakeholder development, that was with, this is the Play State Park, the University, Utah Open Lands, Salt Lake City. The city stepped forward and agreed to pay for this master plan. As others have said, it was really a fantastic process. It's one of the best I've ever seen. I think they got a great deal for what they spent on it. And there was plenty of opportunity for public input. And we want to keep that input coming. Trails Utah is officially the nonprofit partner for Salt Lake City on the Foothill Trails Master Plan and ongoing project for years to come. So we really hope to help feed comments and concerns. I'd just like everybody to know that the very top people in the world of trail design and trail construction were consulted in this plan. We've given lots and lots of thought to single direction, different areas for use, dogs on leash, dogs off leash, hiking only, and getting a mix of trail users that can really all enjoy the system at the same time was one of our main goals. So I'm speaking obviously in favor, would love to see the funding come consistently over the next few years. I think there's a very strong interest. Time. And just one last thing is it's been a free-for-all in the past, but we're going to change that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Clint Campbell, and following Clint is Tom McFarland.
Hi, my name's Clint Campbell. I wanted to speak in favor of the master plan. I also wanted to welcome Darren, District 5. Congratulations. Also, so with this master plan, growing up in Salt Lake, I couldn't wait to get out of it until I realized that we have this amazing trail system right at our front door. So looking forward to seeing this progress so I don't have to drive out to Draper anymore, Park City, as well as just being able to see all the high school mountain bike teams, how quickly they've grown and how excited kids are to get out and ride these trails, to have them in their backyard where they're accessible and not having to get parents to drive them somewhere or whatnot can really help expand the sport, as well as trail stewardship. So I really look forward to seeing it grow and Salt Lake grow. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Tom McFarland, followed by Robert McFarland.
If there's another McFarland, I'm Bob McFarland.
Oh, you are? There's a Tom McFarland here, too.
Okay. Yeah, he'll be up right after. It's my brother.
Okay. Well, you're out of order, but that's okay.
So I'm Bob first, and I'm from Draper. Grew up there. I spent a lot of 20 years there. And one cautionary tale I would tell you all to consider is about the watershed. I currently live in Emigration Canyon, and my concerns are about the trails that are in the Emigration watershed, Mount Wire and some others, and also Salt Lake County land that's owned and is there for watershed protection in the canyon as the county does more development. I mean, the water systems there aren't like Big or Little Cottonwood Canyon where you have municipal systems treating it. I'm the water manager for my well. If there's dog fecal matter in my well, it's my problem to deal with. And I don't have anyone looking at that quality every day other than myself. So my kids and my family rely on it, as do everyone in Emigration Canyon. So you don't hear about people building new biking trails in Big or Little Cottonwood Canyon. And I think that you need to look at Emigration Canyon as a watershed that people rely on, and people need good quality water on an ongoing basis. So as you build those trails, and as you think of areas where dogs are allowed in mass, where these trails get a lot more use, there's social media, people bring their dogs. It's like, hey, it's a great dog hike, Mount Wire. And the stats are about 40% of people don't clean up after their dogs. And so that gets in the watershed. That's why we don't allow them in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon and up above some of the reservoirs nearby East Canyon. So I would just say, make sure as you do that, that you study that with a mindset that there needs to be a study there because people rely on that water. It's our only water. There's no city water. There's no alternative. So we're committed to that system. So as you think about trails, I mean, I know there's a lot that you're doing is very good. It'll be a great resource for people. But water is a more important resource for me than trails are, development of trails in my particular canyon. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McFarland. Tom McFarland. And followed by Tom is Sean Rossiter. That is the last comment that I have, or last comment card that I have on this issue. If you still would like to speak on the issue, you can still fill out a comment card. But go ahead, Mr. McFarland.
Thanks for your time. I'm Tom McFarland. I'm a property owner in Salt Lake City, but a current resident of Emigration Canyon. My concern is specifically about Phase 2 and the trail up Mount Wire and the density of trails that are proposed for kind of the mouth of Emigration Canyon. If you know the topography of the land there, once you get on Mount Wire, it's sort of opens the floodgate to people going further east along the ridge, creating rogue trails along that ridge, the northern ridge of Emigration Canyon. What I see when I'm using trails, I'm a huge proponent of trails, particularly are people who don't take care of their dogs. If you go up Mill Creek Canyon, you ski over dog feces. If you go up all the trails in Emigration Canyon, you're dodging dog feces. There are commercial dog walkers. There are irresponsible dog owners. As my brother said, this is our watershed. It's not protected watershed for the city, but it should be, in my opinion, because I have a well in Emigration Canyon from which I draw water that's contaminated with fecal coliforms, in part because of human activity and dog activity. These trails, especially that one up Mount Wire, are going to increase that problem for us. So, I think that the plan looks great, except that I think it inadequately addresses the problem of water quality for private well owners in Emigration Canyon. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McFarland. Sean Rossiter. And again, that's the last card that I have. If you're interested in speaking, please raise your hand and a staff member will come. All right.
Thank you. My name's Sean Rossiter. I live in District 7. At the risk of getting some harsh words outside, I'll say I'm the coach of the East High Mountain Bike Team. I also serve on the board of the Utah Mountain Bike League, which grows by 19% every year. So we're already behind. This should have got, by the time we get this done, we're going to have another plan to do more trails because it's just building. But I want to second a lot of what's said. I won't go through it, but I will say this. So we have about 50 kids on our team, another 25 parents that come out and help us. And so I want to commit the team to help build and maintain the trails. And I hope everyone else that spoke today will join us when we go out and do those trail days. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rossiter. The new last card that I have is Alex Conkle. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand.
Hi there, my name is Alec. I'm a student at the U.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Student at the U. I've lived here for 2 years, really enjoy it. I'm from Boise, where one of the biggest resources is the trail system. It brings people together. Everybody loves it. We all convene around the trail system, and we really do enjoy everything about it. So I think adding new trails will be really beneficial for us as a community. As a former NICA athlete, and as someone who raced and rode on those trails, it's really important that we continue to foster the growth of the youth development and just taking care of our natural resources. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conkle. And that is the last card that I have. Nope, here comes one. Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you state your name for us, and then we'll have you fill out a comment card after?
All right, my name's Magnus Peterson. I'm in 7th grade at West High. I'm on the West High bike team, and I live in the Avenues, and I use the trails up there quite a bit, and it would be really nice to have more up there because I've ridden almost all of the trails, and they get a little more boring after riding. And to be honest, I don't know that much about the topic, but it would be really nice to have more trails.
Okay, thank you. All right. I have no more comment cards on this issue. So we will move on to our,
Mr. Chair,
nope, yes.
I would like to make a motion.
Yes, please do.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilmember Fowler and a second by Councilmember Johnston. All in favor, say
Okay,
aye.
comment?
Oh, sorry. Comment? Yes, of course.
If I might, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I support the master trail system master plan, Foothills Trail System master plan. But there were a couple things that were brought up tonight that I'd like maybe some discussion or some answers. Louis Kogan, I don't know if Louis is here. I didn't see him tonight. They've done a great job on this. There's just a couple things regarding particularly Mount Van Cott and Wire, the North Cove residents, the adaptive use question, and then immigration watershed question. So,
Would you, Councilmember Johnston, would we want then to amend my motion to actually continue the public hearing and defer action?
I think we can keep taking public comment. I'm not sure we need the hearing necessarily, but I'd be open to that as well. I just want to make sure we don't take action tonight before we have some discussion about it.
Agreed.
Do you have strong feelings either way? Anyone else?
No, I agree.
Yeah, I have written down the same questions. I don't necessarily want to, I want to get answers to those and address those, but I also support the master plan, so I don't want it to delay too much.
Then we'll keep my motion as it is.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Fowler and a second by Councilmember Johnston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. And no abstentions, okay? So, and James is absent, so, all right, thank you. So that'll be, we'll postpone that to be scheduled for later, for adoption later. And in the meantime, those of you who did express concerns, we have your contact information. We'll be able to reach out to you that way. Okay? Our next public hearing includes items B2 through B7. Those will be heard as one public hearing. These are grant applications. If there is anybody who wishes to speak on these, please fill out an orange comment card. And again, we're going to call the names in twos again. First card I have is George Chapman.
Lots of items, and so I'm going to have to use this a little bit. So what happened to the 9th South Trail? What happened to the railroad bridge over 9th South? What happened to the 7th East Byway? And what happened to the McClellan Trail? The mayor's pet project. Where's that? We need a priority list and engagement with the communities, community councils, to get a realistic, respectful list. And I want to remind all the council members, the staff, and the mayor and the transportation department that separated bike lanes, according to the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety study from last year, said that separated bike lanes are unsafe if there are a lot of driveways. And in these plans, these grant applications, there are a lot of driveways. The proposed grant applications would seem to be lower priority than safe wide bike lanes, which we need now citywide. And I'm against using any transportation funds for projects like the BRT on 2nd South. We should be using it for service. And before putting in a transit center, we should be telling UTA to move the bus stops to the corners. We shouldn't have to work to use mass transit. The Main Street project should have raised bike and pedestrian paths in accordance with completer streets. Hopefully, transportation will give you the report in the next few weeks. And the Beck Street daily maintenance will be very, very, very expensive. The 600, 700 north bulb outs endanger cyclists, and the 300 west I don't think should have a cycle track because there are a lot of small businesses that use parking right in front of their stores, little stores, small businesses, locally owned, and they'll go bankrupt if you put a cycle track in front of them. Some of the businesses that got the cycle track on 300 West lost business 50% because the cycle track stopped people from loading their cars. So that's a big issue there. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Dave Iltis, and that's the last card that I have. If you want to speak on any of the grant applications, please raise your hand.
Hi, my name's Dave Iltis with Cycling Utah. First thing, I'm a bit dismayed that you're wrapping these all into one comment period because there's a lot to say on all of this. So I'll try and go quickly. First thing is that cycle tracks are great, despite what George Chapman has recently said. They are the way bike lanes should be built. So quickly, on item 7, the surplus canal, please open this as soon as possible as a dirt trail and worry about paving it later when you have funds. This could be opened within months by adding signage and opening the gates. The 300 West grant is wonderful. Please do add protected bike lanes there. On 600 North, one of the primary things you could do is reduce the speed limit tomorrow from 35 to 25. It's dangerous because of increased speed limits. The Main Street High Comfort bike lane, you need to add legislative intent that this should not preclude a protected bike lane on State Street. This is being put forward as the part of the Life on State network, but at the public hearings and public charrettes for Life on State, people wanted good facilities on State Street, and it is only because of inaction by Salt Lake City and UDOT's obstinance that we're not getting a vibrant State Street, and that's really a shame. The main reason I'm here to speak, though, is about the 200 South Transit Corridor. This grant mentions nothing about preserving the bike lanes. Those bike lanes were things that we fought for years and years to get the one solid crosstown bike lane in Salt Lake that goes all the way from the university to basically to the Jordan River Parkway. And there's not a single mention of that in there. I'm in favor of all the grant applications, but in November of 2018, I guess I'll just continue this in my general comment, but repaint the green lanes, and please be careful about what you're doing here.
Thank you, Mr. Iltis. I didn't see anybody else raise their hands on this, so I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and refer items B2 through B7 to a future consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Valdemoros. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Abstentions? And James is absent. Okay, we have no potential action items. We are now at item D, the comment section of our agenda. Are there any questions for the mayor? Mayor, thank you for being here. Any questions?
Sorry, Mary, don't have any questions for you today.
Where did you get your glasses?
Yeah.
What,
Nice
wh-
glasses.
no, the question was, where did you get your glasses?
In District 7.
Haha. Okay, thank you. All right. And let's see. Okay, so now we're at item D2, taking general public comments. I will call names again based on the comment cards that I have, just like the previous public hearings. And the first comment card that I have is Cindy Cromer.
I am still Cindy Cromer, and my comments tonight are about the myths which have been circulating in this building regarding housing. My rebuttals are based on 45 years of experience as a landlord and property manager, and on the work of some well-known economists. They are myth-defying. You have a handout on your desk in front of you. Myth number one, landlords are motivated primarily by rental income. Rebuttal, some of them clearly are, but it is false that the city only needs to look at rental income in determining whether a property owner will demolish an existing building and displace tenants into a challenging housing market. I have two primary motivations to be a landlord. One is fairly unique, and the other is very common. Neither of them are driven by rental income. Myth number two, that creating more market rate housing makes other housing more affordable. This one took me a while to figure out. The issue is really complicated. More market rate housing only reduces rent at market rate housing in close proximity. In other words, we're dealing with apples and oranges. If you increase the number of apples, apples in that particular location become slightly less expensive. However, oranges are the same price or higher as they were before you increased the number of apples. The current price of market rate housing just makes my units, my affordable units, more valuable because I have oranges and my tenants don't aspire to pay for apples. They can't. Number three, that the Good Lord Landlord Program is accomplishing what was intended. There are committed city employees working in housing inspection and business licensing. But the truth is that the program was based on an Ogden model, and landlords know that Ogden is a completely different market than Salt Lake City. Myth number four, that the zoning ordinance is the problem. Citing the ordinance is really clever because nobody wants to talk about the language in ordinances. Nobody. People would rather assume that you're right in saying that the ordinance is the problem and move on. It's also a reasonable approach in our case with respect to the housing puzzle because we have a talented planning staff that can deal with the ordinance. And the rest of it is on your paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Up next is George Chapman, followed by Robert Comstock.
I need to explain to you what bicyclists go through when they're riding through the city. It's not easy, it's dangerous. And a cycle track gives very little room for maneuvering in an emergency, whether it's debris on the road or a car jumping out, or we've even seen ramps on 300 South crossing the cycle track to the sidewalk. It's that bad. It's that dangerous. So if you really want to do a safe cycle track, you have to commit to daily maintenance of those cycle tracks. We don't have the money for that. You need to remember that. You need to have daily maintenance on cycle tracks if you are going to build a cycle track anywhere in the city. That money should be used, better be used now for wide bicycle lanes. And I need to also point out, kids shouldn't be riding bicycles in a cycle track. I think they're dangerous for kids. They should be on a raised, shared path. Also, I need to point out that you need to read the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety report on cycle tracks. It's really, it's important because this city keeps pushing cycle tracks in the wrong place. Best cycle track possible would be from 9th South to the S line on 7th East. You could have it raised, it'd be perfect. But where is it? People have been killed on that road. Bicyclists have been killed on 7th East because of that. So that's what we really, really need. I just want to point out, you should be pushing shared, raised bicycle pedestrian paths more than anything else. And I still want to point out, why are we ignoring the McClellan Trail? There's no safe way to get from Salt Lake City to Brickyard if you're a pedestrian or a bicyclist.
Time.
Please push the McClellan Trail.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Robert Comstock, followed by Dave Iltis. And Dave Iltis is the last card that I have. If you are here and would like to speak to us on any issue, please raise your hand and we'll get you a card.
Hello, Council. Good to see you. I've lived here, I'm 1 year short of Cindy Cromer. I've been here 44 years. I have watched over the last 44 years several natural spots of environmental beauty be destroyed by developers in this city over 44 years. The artesian well at Brickyard Plaza was encroached upon. It had tons of wildlife. It was encroached upon by the Brickyard condominiums. Then the Home for the Elderly destroyed it. I lived there. There was so much wildlife there. The other one is, and I can't read my writing because of my glasses. Anyway, there was another, Westminster College. When the parking lot was built, that artesian well flowed for 3 full months down that creek. It was destroyed for a parking garage for Westminster College. We have several spots of natural beauty in this city that were destroyed by developers. Now, one more is being threatened. Let me tell you, these spots support wildlife. They support environmental and ecological diversity. And for a short-term dollar, we destroy centuries of natural beauty in our city. The next one coming is Allen Park. I think it's also called Hobbiton. This council, several years ago, helped preserve Gilgal Gardens. Why not preserve the natural beauty and the wildlife at Allen Park? Our mayor said this is going to be an ambitious work of love. How about some ambitious love for the wildlife and the natural beauty of Allen Park?
Thank you, Mr. Comstock. Dave Iltis, and that's the last card I have.
Again, my name's Dave Eltis with Cycling Utah. I'm continuing my comment on the 200 South Transit Corridor grant. In November of 2018, I was riding with my partner Lisa on this roadway, and she had a very large pickup truck come within 1 foot of her, and it was terrifying for both of us. And right after that, we contacted the Transportation Division to ask that they please restripe the green lanes on 200 South. The green lanes have not been restriped on 200 South or Main Street or South Temple or North Temple in at least 10 plus, 11, 12 years from now. They've deteriorated. They were trend-setting lanes when they first came in. They were national news. And Salt Lake City has done nothing, absolutely nothing, to provide for the safety of cyclists on those roads. Streets and Transportation cannot agree on who should repaint the road, and so it's languished. They point fingers at each other, and nothing gets done. And in the meantime, cyclists are not riding on safe roads, and it is here. I'm here not out of passion for this. I'm here out of fear. I'm here out of fear because my partner was almost hit. I've been hit on Salt Lake City streets, and I'm so tired of it. And you guys need to step up. The mayor, you need to step up and get this done. Because this is something where I don't want to see someone die on that roadway. And this grant application doesn't address that. It's mediocre at best, and yeah, you should vote for it, but you absolutely ought to add legislative intent to get this done and get it done now and not wait till this is being rebuilt. And do this tomorrow. They put in some inadequate white Chero markings there that are a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid. So again, please get something done here and repaint the green lanes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iltis. Don't have any more cards. So we will move on to the next item, which is new business. We have no new business. So unfinished business is a resolution regarding an interlocal agreement between Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County that would partially fund the replacement of the baseball playing surface at Smith's Ballpark, which is owned by the city.
Mr. Chair, I move the council adopt a resolution authorizing approval of an interlocal agreement with Salt Lake County to partially fund the playing surface replacement at Smith's Ballpark.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Johnston and a second by Councilmember Mono. Is there any discussion?
It was Councilmember Dugan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Dugan.
I would have done it, though.
Oh,
He was too fast.
Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this other than who seconded the motion? All right. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and one absence. We're now to the consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Fowler, I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Johnston. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? And one absence. That concludes our hearing for tonight. Thank you all for being here. We are adjourned.